Yeah, how do you like that? 88k from Hermit Yoda. And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's video is going to be on Masterful modding. So this is another one of our series on Masterful modding, talking about different characters and how they should be modded. Specifically today we're looking at protection and all of the characters in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes that need protection. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it, everybody. So first and foremost here, we have, as you can see in the thumbnail, Jedi Master Luke. So Jedi Master Luke just screams for protection. Now, you can see I've taken him all the way up to Relic 9. He is my first and only Relic 9, and it was absolutely worth it. He is so unbelievably good with that extra protection that he gets. The reason his protection is so important, though, everybody, is because of his leadership. So if we take a look down here under, whoops, too far, under Inherited Teachings, it says, gain Jedi lessons for 3 turns and call target other light side ally to assist, dealing 90% less damage, blah, 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 blah. This is the important part. Then they deal true damage to the target enemy based on 60% of Jedi Master Luke Skywalker's base max protection, which, here's the other big thing, can't be evaded. It is huge. As you guys could see in the opening clip, literally my Hermit Yoda, who can't do damage when he is healing people on his basic, is hitting for 88,000 true damage. This is so ridiculously powerful. If you can take him all the way up to Relic 9, he doesn't hit near as hard at Relic 8. He gets a massive boost when you take him up to Relic 9. Now I'll show you guys here. So he gets with a total of 34,000 bonus protection, whereas before that he really doesn't get anything. It's very, very minimal. So absolutely, definitely want to mod him with as much protection as possible. You'll be able to see it in all of my mods. If you know, I'm not going to take the time to show all of them to you, but you can see speed is a big thing with him, and then as much protection as you can possibly get. This is actually one of my best mods that I have. Not only in terms of speed, that's an amazing speed mod, but even the protection rolls are really good. Ideally, it would have been 4 on the percentage based, and 2 on the flat base protection. But you know, beggars can't be choosers. So basically, all of my mods are like that, folks. Loaded with speed and loaded with either protection percentage or protection flat. Ideally, again, it's percentages. All right, number 2 on our list here, we've got General Skywalker. So General Skywalker, if you guys can mod him really correctly and really well, he can absolutely destroy teams. There was a period of time where modding him for speed used to be super important. I've always, even during that time when that phase was going on in SWGOH, I still always modded him for offense, defense, and protection. I wanted him to be a thick tank. I didn't really care about the speed. It wasn't as big of a deal to me. You guys can see I do have him with offense mods and some defense mods. All of these, though, are loaded up with protection. Just tons and tons and tons of protection. Everything that I have is protection if possible. The reason for that is his unique Hero with No Fear. So you can see here at the very top, at the start of the battle, General Skywalker gains 25% defense, 15% max protection, and 25% tenacity for each other 501st ally until all of them are defeated. So he's literally gaining 4 times each of these stats. So 100% defense, 100% tenacity, and then what is that, 60, I think, if I'm doing my math real quick correctly, 60% max protection on top of what he already has. So he is just ridiculously thick and tough as all get out. I've got him at 133,000 protection. Not too shabby. You can see I don't have a ton of speed on him, but that's the way I play him. I don't really need a ton of speed. I haven't worked on his tenacity. He really has quite a bit. If his base is at 77%, plus that 100% with a 501st, 177 is a lot of tenacity. You don't have a lot to worry about there. Same thing is true with our defense. I don't have him modded heavily for defense, other than just the defense sets that I had there. You can see he's already at 65%. You know, plus another 100%. And I know that doesn't stack exactly in a true true equation, unfortunately, but you get the idea. He's really, really thick, really, really tough to kill. All right, moving on to Malak. This is one that might surprise you guys. So Malak is notorious that he doesn't ever have protection. He always just has health. Well, the reason you want protection on him is because of the way his kit converts protection to health. And that is under his unique on Jaws of Life. So you guys are going to see here that if we scroll down a little bit, no, where is that? There it is. At the start of the battle, he loses all protection and gains that much max health. So it's a straight conversion. Now, the way the stats work, at least currently in SWGOH, is that you will get more protection by using the protection primaries than you would if you were to use health. So the fact that this is a straight conversion and it's not kind of a scaling effect, you definitely want him to get as much protection as you can on him. Now, I have him modded. He's somebody I would like to go in and kind of remod. I have him modded primarily for tenacity so that he can solo teams. Not necessarily the best at this state of the game, but I'm kind of transitioning into a higher level where he's not going to ever be able to solo anything. It's just, I'm just not going to see teams like that. But that's currently the way he's modded. But even with that being said, you'll see that his primaries, with the exception of this one here, is going to be all protect. Actually, no, I have 2 healths. Do as I say, not as I do, everybody. Like I said, I do need to remod him a little bit. It's not the best mods for him, unfortunately. I was going for tenacity primarily on him more than anything else. So, but you do want to get a lot of protection on him. Protection primaries are ideal. Depending on how you want to run him in terms of speed, I would still use a speed arrow for him and then have your other 3 be protection. But again, that's up to you. You could probably, if you really wanted to go for a heavy tenacity build, make this a tenacity primary and then go with protection. Like I said, it just depends on how you're building Malik. If you're building him for a solo, you're going to build him like I did. But in the state of the upper level game, you're probably going to want a lot of protection on him more than anything else. All right, CLS is our next one here. CLS has 2 reasons that you want to give him a lot of protection. The main one, or at least I should say the initial one, that's probably the better way to say it. The initial one is his call to action ability. So when he uses this call to action ability, he recovers 40% health and 40% protection. Now, I know that those are dead even stats, but again, if we talk back to what we discussed with Malik, you're going to get more bang for your buck on protection primaries than you will in health primaries. Plus, when you start to get up into the relic levels, you're going to gain a ton of health anyway for him. So really, in the long run, you're going to want protection for him with that ability. The other reason, and we're going to back out a little bit here, is because of who you typically have him with, and that is Chupio. So because of Chupio's unique, you're going to gain a ton of the max health, protection, etc., of your leader. In this case, that's CLS. So again, like I said, you tend to get more bang for your buck with modding with protection primaries than you do with health primaries. So again, if you're just trying to maximize what you're getting out of it, I recommend protection primary on CLS whenever you can. Now, again, you might have a mixture on this. You might have offense for some of it. You might have protection for some of it. You might even have health for some of it. You can see I've got an offense mod there, offense mod. I want him to hit pretty hard. But again, you're going to see that I'm pretty much always going to have a protection, if possible, on these mods, just to really try to get as much out of it as I can. Sometimes I don't, just because of the mods that I have, but it is what it is. I didn't claim to be a whale here, folks. I'm just mid-tier. I'm doing the best I can. Next up, we've got Thrawn. So Thrawn, you're going to want protection on him primarily because of his third, or I should say his second special, his third ability, where you swap turn meter, and then you also recover 40% protection. So again, the more protection you can get on him, the better. And generally speaking, if you're going to have a tank with the Empire, you're going to usually want them modded for protection too. We'll touch on that here in a little bit in our bonus content. All right, moving on. That Thrawn's pretty straightforward. Bosk. We definitely want protection on Bosk, and that's more largely because of his leadership. You could mod him for health if you're not using him in a leadership capacity in any way. I still like protection, though, on him. The reason for this, under his leadership, you get 50% max protection and 50% tenacity. It's pretty straightforward. Generally speaking, if you are running bounty hunters under him at all, so this is, again, more early game, per se, you're definitely going to load all your bounty hunters up with protection over health. Bosk in particular, you are going to want a lot of protection over health. Later game, that might change. So for instance, I run him under an aura lead, and I use them on offense. If you are interested in what that team is and how it works, check out the video that I have on budget teams that slap for GAC offense. You guys will not be disappointed. But even in that team, I still have him modded for protection, just because it's really, again, we talked about bang for your buck. If all things are even, you're going to get more out of the protection primaries than you will out of the health primaries. So I still recommend going all protection on Bosk if at all possible. Next up, we've got Dooku. So Dooku, you're going to want a lot of protection on over health because of his Zeta. Notice I didn't say unique, I said Zeta. If you don't have his Zeta, this is not near as good. So with his Zeta, you get 15% damage. That's not the important part. But you recover 15% protection, gain critical hit immunity, when attacking out of turn. So because of that 15% protection gain when you attack out of turn, that's why you really want to load him up with protection versus like health, for instance. Again, you're going to have some situations where you might want to have your character a little bit more balanced. Like we talked about CLS earlier. CLS is a perfect example of somebody that you really a lot of times want to have balanced. And you want to have just as much stats as possible on them. But when it comes to health versus protection, primarily, you want protection when all is said and done. Some, unlike CLS, are not as balanced, like Stormtrooper Han. So again, this is dependent on his Zeta. I do have a Zeta. I love this guy. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite tanks in the game. Whenever Han takes damage, he recovers 5% protection. So the key with this is that you have to really, really, really minimize the amount of damage that is coming in on Han. Now, you also, at the same time, need to have loads of protection. So you can see, I do have some tenacity mods on him, mostly just so that he doesn't get dazed and or ability blocked out the gate. But other than that, I want to load him up with as much defense as possible. If you have a really good crit avoidance mod, I'd recommend putting a crit avoidance mod on him. You can see this is like my pride and joy right here, minus the offense percentage. This is such a great mod. But you want to get him as much crit avoidance, as much defense, and protection as possible so that he's constantly healing up. And if you can get those numbers to work out really well, let's say you're facing, you know, Geos and Mon Mothma can dispel his taunt, but still, it's the same concept. They're just not going to be able to hurt him because they just can't do enough damage to be able to get past his protection. So again, great Zeta on him. Great reason to have protection on him. Magna Guard. You'll notice that tanks are kind of a theme with this, folks. Magna Guard is really important to have protection, not so much because of his kit. So he doesn't really have anything in his kit specifically here that really calls for protection. But what you do want protection for is his teammates. Now, this is dependent largely on if you're going to have Watt on the team. I don't typically have Watt on the team for GAC, but I don't really need him, quite frankly. Magna Guard is strong enough as he is. But when I am doing, for instance, Conquest, where being thick is super important, I do have Watt on this team, on the Grievous team, and it really, really, really helps. Because with Watt, you gain, I think it's Overseer, if I remember correctly, yes. So all of the Separatist allies and Darkside Droid allies gain max protection equal to 30% of Watt's max health. So we talked earlier in our previous video, again, a little shout out to some videos that we've made before, our Masterful modding video on health, we talked about why Watt is so important. And this just translates right here. We talked about it in that video, talking about it in this video with Magna Guard and quite frankly everybody else. You definitely want to mod him for protection to get that bonus from Watt. All right, last up in our top 10 here. So we do a top 10, by the way, if you guys haven't figured that out. Top 10 list here is Embo. Unfortunately, I do not have Embo up yet. I am working on him. But his one of the unique ones where it's not a unique or a leadership. It's actually an ability similar to Thrawn. But this is actually an offensive ability. And that is the Kyuzo War Helmet. So he deals damage to the target, deals physical damage to target enemy, blah, 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 blah. The attack deals bonus damage equal to 35% of Embo's max protection. That's huge. If you load him up with tons and tons and tons of protection, he's going to absolutely slap folks. There are some videos that are out right now with him under Jabba the Hutt, and holy cow, he's destroying people. Just so much damage with this. Definitely highly recommend it if you've got Embo and you've got him reliced up, and especially if you've got Jabba the Hutt. Put as much protection on him as you can. It's going to make a huge difference, everybody. All right, so that's our top 10. I do always try to provide a little bonus content, and we've got 5 guys right here. They are all tanks. They all want protection for similar reasons that I mentioned before. Usually, all things are equal with them, so you want to get as much protection from them versus health as possible. Wrecker, Zalbar, Royal Guard in particular, because under a Lord Vader leadership, they convert all of that protection directly into health, just like Malak with his kit. So, and again, Shore Trooper I mentioned earlier, usually Empire tanks, you're going to want as much protection as possible to benefit from Thrawn there. So those are your top 10, folks, plus our bonus 5 that we've got here. Just general tanks that you guys are going to load up with as much protection as possible. You can tell some of these are a little more balanced, you know, not as important. CLS, for instance, he wants protection, but it's not vital for him. I would argue that Thrawn can be a little bit more balanced, but certain ones like JML absolutely want protection. Stormtrooper Han, absolutely. Bosk, I would argue, absolutely. Skywalker absolutely must have protection. So hopefully this video helped you guys out here. Let me go ahead and flip back to our main screen here. If you guys liked what you saw today, appreciate it if you gave me a little thumbs up. Also, if you want to catch any of the other future videos that we're doing and or review some of the past ones, give us a please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything in the future. If you guys have any ideas on other videos that we should make for SWGOH, feel free to leave a comment. Also, last but not least, please come over, check us out on Twitch for live streaming for GAC, and then also feel free to join our Discord for further discussion. I'll have all the links for that stuff down below. All right, everybody. Catch you next time.